Andrew, your reaction to what seems to have been where the news momentum was going in the last few weeks in New York City, as more and more officials in the Adams administration were either resigning or handing over their phones to the FBI and then being forced to resign.
Yeah, a few observations. First, to your point about this being a sitting mayor, some of our viewers may be noticing that there's a sitting mayor who has now been reported to have been indicted. There was a sitting senator in New Jersey, Senator Menendez, who was indicted. But you cannot, under Department of Justice policy, indict a sitting president, as I know well from the Mueller investigation. And so that is the reason that you are seeing a sitting politician under indictment by the Department of Justice, but at a lower level than the presidency, which may strike some people as an odd internal Department of Justice policy. The second thing to note is that Eric Adams, his history is before he was mayor, he was quite senior in the New York City Police Department. And so, like Donald Trump, as somebody who was in charge of law enforcement, who now will be facing charges by the U.S. Attorney's Office, reportedly in the Southern District of New York. And then finally, what I'm looking for. I think in any case like this, the real thing that I will be looking for if the charges are unsealed tomorrow, which I suspect they will be, is how is the government going to prove intent? This seems to be all of the investigations basically deal with some form of campaign finance violations, whether the money is coming from overseas or not, whether they're quid pro quos. But it would be illegal to have foreign campaign funds go into your coffers. But you need to show that Eric Adams, the mayor, knew that he was aware. And so I suspect that we will learn that some of the people whose homes have been subject to searches, whose phones have been taken, are actually cooperating with the U.S. Attorney's Office, because that's a way into the head of the mens rea, the intent, much as our viewers saw Michael Cohen being able to testify about Donald Trump's mens rea, what he was saying and doing. So that's the thing I'm going to be looking for tomorrow, is how is the government intending to prove that Eric Adams was aware of the alleged wrongdoing.
Let's listen to what Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said today before the mayor was indicted.
We are seeing just such a steady stream from deputy mayors and so many others that are either vacating, resigning, or frankly leaving the city rudderless in terms of leadership. And so right now, I think this is squarely about Mayor Adams' ability to govern New York City and for the New York City governance to be fully staffed to serve the people of New York City. And frankly, under this constant stream of scandal, I do not know if the city will be able to even name replacements for all of these resignations and vacancies at this point. I think for the best of the city and so that we can continue to staff the administration of the city, it would be best for Mayor Adams.
Leader Jeff.
Lisa Rubin, feel free, despite my question, which will be specific, to comment on any aspect of this breaking news as you see it right now. But I've become suddenly interested in the line of succession in City Hall and what happens if the mayor resigns or if the governor uses her power, unique power, to remove him.
Well, let's start with what happens if the mayor were to resign, because Lawrence, as this investigation has picked up steam, you'll be unsurprised to learn that I and others have picked up the city charter, which lays out exactly that, a plan of succession. If Mayor Adams is either removed from office or he resigns from office, for a period of time, the mayoralty of the city of New York would go to the current sitting public advocate, Jumaane Williams, who is a former city council member and quite progressive as compared with Mayor Adams, who has always positioned himself as sort of a law and order Democrat, the sort of Democrat you don't much see anymore elected to national or high profile office in major cities. That having been said, Jumaane Williams would be a temporary custodian of the office because the city charter also provides, depending on when that resignation comes, that a special election would then occur. In this case, if Mayor Adams were to resign now at this point in the year, in his third year of office, but after September 20th, which is a critical date under that city charter, Jumaane Williams would have to call a special election roughly 60 days after that resignation, or if that comes too close in time to the November election, the first Tuesday in December, I believe. But Mayor Adams is showing no signs that he wants to resign. In fact, in response to that clip that you showed from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, both Mayor Adams and his spokesperson issued statements very defiantly saying that no charges had yet been filed, that it was inappropriate for her to speculate on his future and to call for his resignation. No sign yet whether Mayor Adams has changed his tune now that we know, thanks to New York Times, that he has been indicted and likely that those charges will be unsealed tomorrow. Lawrence.
The governor, who has the power to remove the mayor, her reaction to this indictment is going to be more important than anyone else's.